What's up, guys? Welcome back to Ball Talk. I am your host, Braden Wheeler, along with
Cooper Kasky.
And Dustin Arnold.
And it's been a few weeks. A lot of stuff has happened regarding college football the past few weeks. Some really surprising results. Of course, National Signing Day was yesterday as well.
Yep.
A lot of different things happening. But this past weekend, we just want to talk about this past weekend and playoff committee's decisions this past week that they made regarding some of these teams and their situations. But first, we're going to go into one of the most weird games of all time. I'm not sure if y'all saw this. Ohio State lost at home to Michigan.
They sure did.
Yeah, I saw that.
They sure did.
And after the game, there was a huge brawl.
I saw that too.
Yeah.
They
I saw that
fought.
on Instagram.
There was and this is what's crazy about this week. There was 4 brawls this week, all revolving around one thing: the other team planting their flag at the center of the metaphorically.
What other team? It was Arizona State.
So that was another one. Yeah. Arizona State had a pitchfork because they're the Sun Devils.
Yeah.
And the Arizona people got mad, or the Arizona players got mad at them for that. And then, of course, you look at Florida State. Florida did the same thing with against them. Michigan.
Baker Mayfield put in a word about it.
Yeah.
When he did it against, was it Ohio State?
Yeah, he did against Ohio State, which is weird because, of course, now they care about somebody planting their flag versus them. But it's crazy because Ohio State was like a 20-something point favorite, and they ended up choking against Michigan.
I think they deserve it, honestly.
Michigan's quarterback had 60 yards passing. He had 2 picks. How do you lose?
I don't know.
Michigan did everything they could to try to lose that game, and Ohio State just lost to Michigan for the 4th straight year.
Yeah,
who's their quarterback?
Ohio State?
Yeah,
it's Will Howard.
Mm.
He's okay. A lot of people were really hyped about him entering the offseason because he entered the portal from Kansas State. But what people don't really remember is if you paid attention to football last year, that he was a starting quarterback for Kansas State. He got benched. He got benched
really?
for somebody younger than him.
Yeah.
And these Ohio State fans, they were really hyped about him this year, and he's been okay. I mean, he's been pretty good. But I mean, what an absolute choke job. And their coach is definitely on the hot seat. Losing 4 straight years to Michigan.
Yeah, that is insane.
My goodness.
Now, last year I get it, but this year
there's no excuse, especially
they're not even in the rankings.
Especially when you're at home. And one thing we're going to talk about is the playoff committee's decision to only drop them. I think they were within the top 3, entering this week.
Yeah.
They might have been number 3. They only dropped them 3 spots.
Seriously? Ohio State?
Ohio State is higher than Tennessee.
That is absurd. After losing to Michigan, that is insane.
In the playoff poll. So right now, Ohio State and Tennessee, they both get home games, but Ohio State is ranked higher. It really makes no sense.
That is truly absurd.
And when you look at, this is another thing, Miami.
Yeah.
Miami, even though they don't play in that tough of a conference, they lost on the road to a ranked team, and they dropped significantly more spots. They dropped 6 spots.
Yeah, dude, I think there's some bias going.
And now they're looking outside looking at it. It's really big dog bias, and I'm an SEC guy. But another thing we're going to get to soon is that the committee also put Alabama in the top 12, and as it looks like right now,
Oklahoma beat Alabama.
Yeah, Oklahoma, yeah.
I just don't see Alabama.
So there's
in the
basically
top 12. That's insane.
Yeah, there's 3 SEC teams that everyone's making a case for: Alabama, South Carolina, and Ole Miss. Now, all 3 of them have pretty solid resumes, but LSU lost games, or not LSU. South Carolina lost games earlier in the season that they shouldn't have, but now they're one of the hottest teams in football.
Mm-hmm.
They have one of the best quarterbacks in Lenore Sellers. He's really good. Ole Miss they were 5-3 in their last 8 games. They also lost to Kentucky, so I don't think they should be in. And even Alabama, they lost to Vanderbilt, which Vanderbilt's not a bad team this year, but it's still Vanderbilt.
Yeah, I don't see how they can. In good conscience, rank them 12th.
Yeah. They're not even 12th. They're 11th right now. So
Alabama?
There's going to be a lot of chaos surrounding the playoff stuff because The conference. I'm not sure if y'all pay attention, but the conference championships are this weekend.
Yeah.
And the top 5 conference champions, they get automatic bids. So Arizona State is ranked number 15th, and the Iowa State's ranked number 16th. Well, both of those teams are in the conference championship, so someone is going to steal one of the last team's bids.
Okay. Yeah.
So Alabama would be ranked 12th if that were the case. If right now, technically, and then but one of the things you want if you do not want Alabama in the playoff, or if you don't want any of those teams on the outside to have a chance in the playoff, SMU and Clemson play in the SEC championship this week, and that comes directly of a result from Miami losing versus Syracuse. Yeah, so this whole thing's crazy. So if you're an Alabama fan, you want Clemson to win.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
You want Clemson to win, and
because that would bump. Would that bump Alabama up?
it would leave them in the playoff. So Clemson, if they won, they would steal a bid. They would be like one of the they would be like probably like in the 9 or 12 range, because that's what the 5th or highest ranked conference champion is.
Okay.
That would also, if Clemson were to win, that would also mean that Arizona State or Iowa State, that either one of them would get a bye.
Yeah.
It's just a whole crazy situation we have going on right now.
It has been a crazy year with all the upsets.
Yeah,
It's been insane.
There's been a lot.
Especially with, like, I think one of the things that helps with that is the transfer portal.
Yeah.
And everything, and NIL nowadays. It's really evened out leveled out the playing field, if I were
It's just
with
made.
that.
I mean, from a watching perspective, it's made it so much more interesting.
Yeah.
You don't know who's going to win.
I know,
Yeah.
right?
It's not like
fun.
you see Georgia versus Tennessee back in the day, and you're like, oh, we know who's winning it.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. So, like, back to what I was like talking about like the SMU Clemson game. So even if SMU loses, in my opinion, I think they should still be in the playoffs over Alabama, because SMU is currently 11-1. The only losses against at BYU, which BYU is a pretty good team this year.
Yeah.
So if you're an Alabama fan, you're rooting for Clemson, which is a weird thing to say, but
It is.
you're rooting for Clemson to steal a bid. Or actually, no, you're not. Wait, what was I thinking? No, I take that back. I take all of that back. I don't know what I was saying. If you're for SMU to win,
Okay. Yeah.
you're
that's what I
rooting.
thought.
You're rooting for SMU to win, so that Clemson doesn't steal a bid and that SMU is in the playoffs and there's one more spot left.
Yeah.
So disregard everything I just said. The past
Don't root for Clemson.
the past 3 minutes. If you're an Alabama fan, don't root for Clemson. Okay.
I don't think you gotta tell them that, but
Yeah, I don't think Alabama is worthy of getting in the playoffs. It's just
I mean,
it's a
just-
battle. It ultimately comes down to the battle of the brands.
It just genuinely doesn't seem fair.
Yes. So as
And-
we get into like all the rivalry week games, I almost butchered that. It's really hard to say.
It is hard to
rivalry-
say.
Rivalry week. Okay. So I mean, there's not really, besides the Ohio State game, there's really in the Miami game, there's really not many surprises. Tennessee took care of business versus Vanderbilt. They won by
Yeah.
13. They secured their spot in the playoffs.
I'm not gonna lie, dude. That
Tennessee-
starting that Tennessee game, dude.
Yeah, they start.
the punt
Vanderbilt
return.
was
that was
Vanderbilt
crazy.
started off. It was like 17-0, I think.
Well, dude, literally first play of the game,
The punt return. For a
punt return.
touchdown.
They took it all the way to the house. I was like, no
Yeah.
way we lose to Vanderbilt.
I was watching because my brother-in-law was in town for Thanksgiving, and he was betting on some of those games,
Yeah.
and I think he took Tennessee to cover in that one, so he was getting pretty nervous, and then Tennessee ultimately ended up covering,
Yeah.
so that worked out well for him. The biggest game we haven't talked about yet, not one of the biggest game on paper, but 8 overtimes, Georgia and Georgia Tech.
Oh my gosh.
Now I didn't.
Who would have guessed?
I shoot. Georgia Tech's been a solid team, but they're unranked.
Yeah.
And they gave Georgia a run for their money, and they almost ended their playoff hopes. If Georgia would have lost this game, they would have had to win the SEC championship to get in.
Yeah.
Now Georgia is in regardless if they lose to Texas in the SEC championship or not.
Yeah.
South Carolina went on the road this weekend, and they beat Clemson on the road. This should have knocked Clemson out of the whole discussion, but with the chaos surrounding them, it didn't.
Yeah.
So Clemson is just kind of like,
There.
yeah, they're just kind of there fighting for their spot. And South Carolina, even though they're the better team, unfortunately they lost a few games earlier this year. They doesn't look like they're getting the playoff.
Man, that's a shame.
It is a shame
wanted to
because
see them.
they are the best team in the. I'm calling this right now. They're the best team in the country right now.
Do you think?
Yes, right now. But earlier, it stinks because they could be 10-2 right now because they played LSU earlier this year, and LSU. I remember this was near the end of the game. LSU was driving down the field. The LSU was trying to win the game.
Yeah.
And their quarterback threw an interception, and it ultimately ended up being a pick six. But I want to say 5 seconds after the ball was intercepted, one of the defenders was blocking for the guy returning it.
Yeah.
And he hit him real hard, and they called roughing the passer.
What? Okay.
This was
That's a stupid call.
This was a few months ago.
Yeah.
And that call ultimately kept South Carolina out of the playoffs. And
I remember seeing something about that.
That's just what's really crazy. And
Yeah.
it sucks for them. But another one, Texas, number 2 Texas went on the road and beat Texas A&M 17-7. I thought the scoring was going to be higher after what to A&M, even though A&M lost the previous week to Auburn. I thought the scoring was going to be way higher than it was. It turns out it wasn't. A&M offensively was just basically non-existent. They didn't score any points. They scored no points except for their defense getting a pick six off Texas's quarterback, who was kind of trying to hand them the game or get him back in it, but they ultimately didn't.
Yeah.
But as we look to these conference championship games in the Week 15, some changes. In the Big Ten, Oregon's playing Penn State. I'm going to take Oregon in that one.
Yeah.
This could have been
I like that.
This could have been Oregon, Ohio State, if Ohio State didn't just absolutely choke versus Michigan. But yeah, and
I was so happy to see Michigan win.
I was happy to see Michigan win too.
For Coach
because
Massey.
I saw those Ohio State players. They were talking so much smack to those Indiana players after they beat them a few weeks ago, and it's like come on, man, have some class. They honestly deserve.
I
that,
love the flag plant. I
do
the flag
too.
plant only because Baker Mayfield did it. I love Baker Mayfield.
But it's weird. Nobody had a problem with it.
It's my bro.
Until this point. Like, why did it now just started becoming a problem?
It's because it got famous when Baker Mayfield did it, I think.
Yeah.
Like everyone had a huge reaction to it.
Yeah.
Or not like a bad reaction, but everyone liked it.
Yeah. It was crazy.
Except for the other team's fans, but
yeah. On to the other conference championship games. Texas and Georgia are playing in the SEC championship game. Either way, both of those teams are getting in the playoff, my opinion. So not really much to talk about there. SMU, like I said, plays Clemson. If SMU win, either way, SMU's in my opinion. If Clemson, if they win, they're in. If they lose, they're done.
yeah.
And I'll probably take SMU to win that game.
You know, I honestly just don't think Clemson deserves.
No, they don't. They don't deserve it, honestly.
Yeah, I mean.
And then, of course, you have Arizona State, Iowa State, and Boise State and UNLV to determine who gets the 4 seed or the 4th seed in like a bye in the playoff. So I have Boise State getting that 4th bye because they're ranked higher. So I think that's ultimately how it's gonna be ranked. But a lot of interesting games this weekend. It's gonna be really fun. That's for sure. Really, playoff picture is almost set. I want to say there's about 8 teams that are for sure locks for the playoff at this point. We're really getting down to the home stretch here in the college football season. We just want to say we hope you all have a great day, and we'll catch y'all later.
All right, see ya.